mythology people. This is Kyle, one of your podcasters for this episode of the Creation Myths and Cross-Cultural Beliefs series of Fact or Myth. It's mythology. So, in the preceding episodes, you have listened to the Genesis, the creation of the world and the birth of the Titans, the giant Pangu, before the beginning and after, and the Filipino creation stories. And for today's episode, we will be talking about the commonalities of the creation myths. So, sit back and sip some coffee while listening to this episode. Now, it is human nature to explore and explain the origin of man, earth, plants, or land formations. And in attempt to elucidate this, early man invented stories which made sense in regard to their time period and culture. And among these creation myths, there are some features of it that are observed to have in common. Interestingly, creation myths from around the world often share many similar themes. It is important to remember, however, that these similarities have been attributed by modern scholars and not the inventors of the stories. Therefore, individual myths cannot be expected to conform exactly to modern stereotypes. So, as defined above, the obvious common motifs include the fractionation of the things of the world from a primordial chaos, the separation of the mother and father gods, land emerging from an infinite and timeless ocean, or the creation out of nothing.
Fact or myth, it's mythology. Good day everyone. Welcome to Mythology Podcast, where we will talk about the different creation myths and cross-cultural beliefs. For today's episode, we will talk about the first 6 common elements of creation myths, and the other elements will be discussed by Jhanelle on the next episode. Now, let's start. First common element is birth. There are 2 types of birth. So one is through egg and the second one is through childbirth. Through egg, it is often a jumbled mass of components which serve as the first element of life, while in childbirth, male or female gods give birth to children. So that's it. The egg and the childbirth. Next element is mother and father. So mother and father element is very common in many world cultures. Usually, mother is earth, as it was said that life emerges from earth or womb. On the other hand, father is usually sky because of its sense of unity created or marriage. So, mother and father. Third common element is genealogy, or the study of family ancestral lines. The first God born did not always create the world. Often, his or her children decided to fill the world with life. Thus, the parents' work was finished by the child. The next common element of creation myth is the supreme being. Most cultures revered a pantheon of supreme beings or polytheistic. Again, it's polytheistic. However, some cultures revered a single creator, which is called monotheistic. So a pantheon is a polytheistic and a single creator is a monotheistic. Fifth commonality is earth diver myths. Many stories allude to a time where the earth was covered by water, and many myths feature a creature diving into the water to retrieve some earth to grow and form the earth. So the last is the animal-human relationships commonality. Animals played key roles in many creation myths, often viewed as equal to humans, often reflect feelings to culture for animals. So again, the first 6 common elements are birth, Mother and Father, Genealogy, Supreme Being, Earth Diver Meets, and the Human and Animals Relationship.
Fact or myth? It's mythology. Good day, everyone. I'm Jhanelle, and welcome to the Mythology Podcast, where we will talk about the creation myths and cross cultural beliefs. And for today's episode, we will be talking about the 5 remaining common elements of the creation myths. The first element is night, fear, fire, and sin. In the creation myths of many cultures, darkness represents fear. The setting of the sun brought on fear and chaos. This fear and chaos was sometimes represented as fire. The next element is an instruction, a sin, and the consequence. Many creation myths consist of at least one of these elements. The consequence is often what causes pain, hunger, disease, and all other evils which plague the earth. Now let's proceed to the third common elements in creation myths. The creation of man. Created by a god or supernatural being establishes a connection between human beings and the supernatural world. The place of humans in the hierarchy of life in the universe is below gods and above animals. Now let's talk about the elements of creation of geographical features. Many legends offer explanations for the formation of mountains, valleys, oceans, rivers, and etc. The next element is the creation of lesser creatures, which are the animals and plants, insects. Almost all creation stories account for the existence of the forms of life that inhabit the planet. It may also explain the physical characteristics of the animals. And now we're done with the 5 remaining common elements in creation myths. In conclusion, myth still remains one of the major links that merge the different cultures and religions from various ethnicities. Throughout history, myths have created various similarities and differences between the cultures and religions of the world. Creation myths in particular define how the earth itself was created, along with the universe, heavens, hell, people and creatures that exist today. And that's it. That's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast and share it to your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you're living with some great things that can help you. Until next time.